Hi, it's John from Under the Table Hot Sauce. I'm here with my friend, the star of the show, Jimmy Farrow.
Yeah, what's up, JB?
Nah, nothing.
It's been a hot summer, and for all your barbecue needs, you can go to underthetablehotsauce.com. 13 unique flavors to choose from, created and bottled in a Long Island kitchen. Underthetablehotsauce.com. Let's go chow, JB.
Let's do it.
All the flavor, twice the burn.
The Monty and the Pharaoh Show is brought to you by...
Because wine is your second favorite four-letter word. California wine, New York attitude. Good fucking wine.
Yeah.
Bring Me Back from Exile was Dusty Rose.
Never sacrifice. We never leave love alone. Is hate really worth the price? Look at
Watching Fox, I stopped watching everything. And you know what I started watching?
This is us.
Reruns of Star Trek, man. Everybody was happy in there. It was
go.
multiracial, man.
back on the interstate. So open up your eyes way before it gets too late. Now run, man, there's no way you can hit the street lights running. Don't give a damn. A simple explanation that you'll never find.
Good evening there, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to present to you the numero uno first edition of In the Dungeon with AA, the reinforcer, Andrew Anderson, and the Taskmaster, Mr. Kevin Sullivan, is in the house. Gentlemen, much love. Great to see you guys. How are we feeling today?
What's going on, guys?
Feeling great. How about you, Andrew, Matty? Everybody
Good,
cool?
Pop.
Good.
Feeling pretty good. I'm trying to read some notes that
New Year?
say again there, Drew.
New Year?
I'm old. I was asleep before the ball dropped. I had my food, ate like a giant animal, and I was probably done by 10 after 11. So if we got, the world blew up at 12:01, I wouldn't have been any worse for the wear.
That's well.
Then
Here we are in the dungeon,
so
the premiere episode.
So I'm reading by Mr. Andrew Anderson, his little chicken scratch or something that looked like a 3-year-old on meth may have wrote. But these are important questions, as this is our premiere thing. So, number one, so why call the show In the Dungeon, gentlemen?
Well, Andrew came up with the name, and it's very good, I think. So, Andrew, take it over.
Well, it's homage to Kevin, and what Hulk Hogan and Kevin came up with, that the organization known as the Dungeon of Doom. And I figured, since me and Kevin are running around as the Dungeon of Doom on indie shows all across the country, might as well call it In the Dungeon. So Mike Monty and myself said, why don't we call it In the Dungeon? And we came up with In the Dungeon.
Yeah,
Pretty simple and straight.
I'd like to thank Marty and the Pharaoh for having us on. It was very nice of them. Every time you go up there, they treat you very, very well. So if any wrestlers out there and they've been approached by Monty and the Pharaoh, believe me, they're great guys, great interviewers, and I've had a ball with them.
Yep, two of the most professional interviewers out there, and they're not afraid to ask questions, right, Kevin?
No, they're not afraid to ask questions. And I like that they have a real good history behind them about pro wrestling. And I think we're going to bring that to the forefront because there are people's names that have been lost in history. Before Vince McMahon, we think that Vince went nationwide, right? Back in the 40s and 50s, up until he died in 1960, probably the most powerful promoter in the history of wrestling was Paul Bowser. Bowser talent, he had a special dispensation from the NWA to have his own champion, even though he was a card carrying member. And his territory was all of New England, Toronto, Montreal. He owned a small part of the New York office back when Toots Monk and Vince Sr. was first starting out. He owned part of Chicago. He owned LA, put a promoter in LA, and he put a promoter in San Francisco. And his champion would drop the belt or defend the belt in those cities around the country. So he was probably the first national promoter. So that's a thing in the day, because when TV came in, he had his stars, and when he would put them on the board or the program, the billboards, it would have a little thing, TV star out of Chicago, which was a national television program.
Wow.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
And going on to shows like when we were doing podcasts and TV shows like Monty and the Pharaoh, they were two of the guys that were fascinated with the history of professional wrestling, and that was stuff that even they didn't know, couldn't being the historians that they are. Kevin is well renowned as a historian in the business, and his wife Linda actually wrote a book called Old School, which the names and the places have been changed, but the characters, once you read the book, you'll be able to put a connection with Vince McMahon's character, Vince McMahon Sr.'s character, Paul Bosch's character, Paul Bowser's character, Sam Munchnick's character, Fritz von Erich's character, and you'll be able to tie in all the pieces if you know your wrestling. If not, it'll be just another story about how all the underworld at the time ran the professional wrestling business, right, Kev?
Right. Because you got to remember, they also ran the boxing. I'm not saying that they had complete control of the wrestling business, but it's funny that all the Monty, when Monty and the Pharaoh and I were talking, when the NWA was formed, it was formed on port cities, whether it was the Mississippi, the Atlantic, Pacific, the Great Lakes. So, the docks have always been in control, or were in control back in the day, by unsavory characters.
Yep, absolutely. And Linda wrote a book called Old School by L.A. Taylor, which is Linda's real name, her maiden name. And, it's out on Amazon. You can look at it on Amazon.com, and you get your book on Amazon Books. So that's one thing we're plugging relentlessly, not only on our podcast, but also on other podcasts, also as we travel across the country and make appearances at various conventions and meet and greets. Right, Kev?
Right. Absolutely.
Well, yeah. So I think that's something that's going to be enjoyed by everyone, is that you guys are going to bring together. And I think the real purpose in the dungeon is we're going to be able to bring that history, right? That wrestling history, not just guys who've wrestled and guys who've been around the industry for decades, but you guys together with all your combined years in and everything, going to really be able to supply your viewers out there with the history of the business, what it was, how it is today, where you think it's going to go in the future. And I think it's going to be an interesting look, right?
I don't want to interrupt you, but not only going to be about professional wrestling. We're also adding a lot of diversity to this podcast. This isn't just another professional wrestling podcast. This is not going to be just another sports-oriented podcast. We're going to have everything from professional wrestlers, professional powerlifters, musicians, rock stars, famous guitar players, hint, hint, wink, wink, and various comic book artists, master distillers, and through our contact with you, some very famous chefs and manufacturers along the way, and one of our first guests on the next episode is going to be Craig Massey, who was on WWE's A&E's edition of WWE's Most Wanted Treasures, Most Sought After Treasures. And he was the one who was on that episode and had a lot of memorabilia. He's going to be on with us on the next episode discussing that. So we're not just dealing with wrestling, we're dealing a lot of cross-pollination in the wrestling business. So, but being as we're talking wrestling, Matt, I got to throw something to Kevin. I'm going to bring a little bit of controversy. Kevin called.
We didn't even get through 10 minutes of the first
No,
episode,
we have-
Kevin, and he's on your ass already.
Kevin was a little upset last night because he heard somebody call Brock Lesnar a part-time champion, a part-time wrestler. Kevin, your thoughts on that?
Well, the ratings have jumped. Brock is a special talent. And this is just my opinion. When you're on television constantly and you're in every pay-per-view, you become just, even how great these guys are, you almost become just like the other guys. I think the way they've handled Brock is that he's been able to stay on top, and I got to give him credit. You know, you got to evolve. And the look on Brock now, and correct me if I'm wrong, he's a babyface, right?
Mm-hmm.
He went from being this vicious heel, Mike Tyson-ish, to he's starting to become a beloved character, and he's starting to show more of his character on television. So, I mean, how can you knock a guy that comes in and the ratings go up immediately? You can't. I think there's a lot of jealousy in the wrestling business, and I can understand, you know, you're there every week and you're busting your ass and trying to get to the spot, and the guy comes in, but he's a very special guy. I don't know anybody in the history of pro wrestling that ever left wrestling and won a UFC world championship or a boxing world championship. You know, he separated himself, and good luck to him. And, you know, I think they handled him very well.
Now, what do you think the thoughts on Bill Goldberg, a character that you helped create and culture and cultivate? Now he always seems to rear his head into main events in the WWE at this point. So, does he have that same impact, you think, as a Brock Lesnar, or has he lost his along the way?
I don't think he's lost it. I think that he's more sporadic than Brock. But again, they wouldn't be bringing him in and paying him this kind of money if he doesn't move the dial. The unfortunate thing, when you're in the wrestling business, you forget the last word. It's a business, you know. Mm-hmm. And with Vince's company being a publicly traded company, they have responsibility to the shareholders for them to get the most out of their money's worth. And I think that's why there's been a huge cut in their staff. I think maybe they're preparing to sell it to a big company, and they want to show the profit margin. So until we know the end of the story, it's kind of hard. Us being when I say us, I mean the whole world being on the outside and not know the inner workings. You can guess all you want until it comes out. So I think that's what they're doing.
Fair enough. I agree with what you said about Brock. I think he's special. He's an amazing talent. And I think now he's finally hit a peak where he's able to show his charisma that he's always been restricted with Paul Heyman as his mouthpiece, always coming in as a monster, not really speaking that much, but he really has shown himself. He's come to age, the way I look at it.
And it's easy to forget too. He's still a tremendous athlete when he goes out there and performs. You're talking about a guy, you know, obviously Kevin was talking about jealousy and everything else. A guy like me who's been around wrestling on the outside for a good chunk of my life can see how the younger kids on the roster is going, hey, this guy's getting a chance, you know, he's taking away chances from us. But what this guy's been able to do, how he's been able to stay on his game, he's still, you know, he's called the Beast for a reason, right? This guy's still a physical specimen, and he goes out there and he does. And, you know, we all hear the same things over and over. People get mad, hey, you know, there's guys in the back. How come this guy can show up and do 15 shows and get $1 million? I'm like, Kevin already alluded to that too. it's a business. It's no different than when UFC, Dana White took Kimbo Slice because Kimbo was a YouTube star, right? So there's kids that were clamoring to make $1,
Mhm.
and Kimbo Slice got the $1 million fight because everybody wanted to see what would happen if you took a guy who fought in the streets and put him in UFC, right? So at the end of the day, you got to remember it is a business.
Absolutely well said, my man. Well said. And the other thing is, sometimes we forget how much work Brock did to get to where he is. His work ethic to me is unparalleled. The other thing is, he not only the UFC crossover, but let's not forget, he was on the Vikings for a short time. What a tremendous athlete. I mean, pro wrestler, UFC champion, went to the Vikings and made the team. Pretty amazing athlete.
Yeah.
So his dedication to get to where he is to me way, way above anything I've ever seen.
Yeah, agreed. And I'm glad that, like I said, somebody like you is actually a historian of all this to come out there and say it, because I think it gives that different perspective to people, you know, stuff that people aren't necessarily thinking about. And like I said, the younger crowd or the younger kids, like, why is this guy being given a chance over me? He disappears. I'm like, well, he can disappear and then come back and then perform at an incredibly high level. And then everybody in those arenas is clamoring to see him. And again,
I think
at the end of the day, it's
generation. I think it's also a generation thing. Brock was from another generation of wrestlers coming into this new generation, which is how I felt at times. You know, like I was misplaced sometimes and lost in the shuffle. You know, Kevin knows that feeling. Knows how I feel about that, right, Kevin?
Yeah, and the thing is, in some ways, you were caught in between two generations, and it's hard, you know, because you're from the old school, which wasn't, you know, as big as you are and as strong as you are. You're not going to do what some of the younger kids are doing today, which is, I've watched it. They're fantastic athletes. You know that, Andrew. They're fantastic athletes, but I think there's a spot for everything. And maybe we're going to see a little bit of change, because I've watched Taz's son, Hook. That kid is something different. He's special. He's wrestling, doing judo moves. He looks the part, even though he's going to grow. We know that, but his matches, what I like, are completely different than everybody else's.
Rick Steiner's son also. Rick Steiner's son is also another equal parallel right there. You know,
right?
Two dads that were well versed in Greco-Roman freestyle wrestling. All of a sudden, their kids, their children are now their proteges. You know, and out in the ring, and one of them is in AEW, the other one is in WWE. It's just pretty amazing, you know. So yeah.
And I think we're going to have a chance to see these guys grow and draw nothing but money.
Yep,
absolutely.
You got Kip's kids, Billy Gunn's kids that are in. So it's always interesting when you get to see the next generation of talent and to see that evolution of the talent, right? I mean, Hook clearly is not built the way Taz is built. And you can see, just look at how Mysterio and his son are. So you get to see how the evolution, which each generation comes up to, which is kind of neat, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, Steiner's kid, I think will surpass up here. It will surpass the Stein brothers, and that's saying something, because Rick, I saw a quote from him. He wants his kid to do that. He's behind him 1,000%, and he's got the capability because of his amateur background. He's a real great athlete, and I think we're headed to another evolution, that we're going to get closer maybe to UFC, where I'm saying this, we're starting to see a little bit, like I said, and Andrew brought up Steiner's son, Steiner and Hook. And some of the guys like Jericho, who are have been able to cross over from generation to generation, they're a little bit more pound and ground. It's like watching a football game. All of a sudden now it looks like they're going back to a running back, not passing all the time. So it's a whole different look. And this evolution is going to be a big deal because AEW is nipping at WWE's heels. And what have they been in business? 2 years?
Yep.
They've done an amazing job. And I hear people always saying, well, they're only getting this much amount of ratings. Let's not forget, they're on TBS and TNT, which covers most of the United States, all of it, I believe, if you have that package. So as they grow, I think, MJF, he's a special talent too.
One of the
Plus,
best mic skills I've ever heard.
Ever. I've watched them. I watched the
And
highlight.
he's a young kid to be that kind of heel and to elicit that kind of response. That's special, and you can elicit that kind of response out of the crowd at that age. Yeah, man.
The kid can work, and the kid can do everything. He can do it all. In fact, I think he's a total pack.
And hey, I'm asking this question to both of you guys. He gets to me. He pisses me off. He's terrific, and I think he stays in his character. And he's very, very good. He's got that smirk. Sometimes we just take it for granted. Well, that guy should know how to do interviews. Andrew, you know this. When they stick a mic in front of you, it gets to be difficult. And as you're a young boy, it's very difficult.
Yeah, this kid, like you said, is special. And like you said, he elicits feelings. Like Andrew and I live close enough to Long Island that I'm sure if we ever saw him, we'd probably want to knee him in the balls, I'm just saying that, that elicits a very particular kind of response, right?
Yeah, my question is, didn't mean to cut you off, Andrew, but my question is, how long has he been wrestling? The second thing is, how long has he been able to do interviews in front of that kind of audience, that kind of pressure, and he pulls it off without a glitch, which I was watching their highlights, and him and Punk did that interview back and forth. The way he pauses, the smirk, the smile. The kid is, I think AEW has great. Yeah, AEW
naturally out of him. The flow of it, and everything in this world is about flow. In the ring, outside of the ring, when you're being interviewed, that kid has that flow, and you know what? That's something special to see.
Calling and acting, I think he's got a future calling in Hollywood, because that kid did a lot of that on the fly, and that's just amazing. So that's skill. That's natural skill.
Agreed.
I want to go back to which one of you mentioned Billy Gunn?
I did.
Okay. Does anybody in the wrestling business, maybe discounting Roman and maybe Brock, does anybody look better than Billy Gunn?
Not at all. Not at all.
And he's
another
Andrew,
58 years old.
He's a huge fan. When you shake hands with him, it's like shaking hands with a catcher's mitt. What an athlete. What an athlete he is. The guys, we get a great group of second generation guys coming up. So it's going to be very interesting in the next 5 or 6 years to watch them mature. And I think because sometimes I wonder how much wrestling is on TV. I think that maybe the days of house shows are fading off. We'll have big pay-per-views, and maybe they'll go like the Harlem Globetrotters do, or the Ice Capades. They'll go have a spring tour across the country and maybe a summer tour. And they're going to do very well, I believe. I see a renaissance in the wrestling business.
Agreed. Hey guys,
Well, it's been that way. I mean,
we got to take a quick 30-second break so we can pay the bills and hear from our sponsors.
And APB, American Protection Bureau, voted #1 best on Long Island for all your security needs. Call 631-390-9050. That's 631-390-9050. APB.
Do you treat your dog as part of the family? Well, so do we. So why not celebrate your pup's birthday with the ultimate party box? Check us out on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Party Pup Info, and let us make your pup's party or any celebration perfection.
Introduce a friend of mine here. Yeah. He trains with me every day. He was an amateur wrestler. He's had amateur MMA fights. Ryan, come on over here. This guy trains very, very hard. And I'm hoping that he goes back and does some MMA.
oh,
Ryan,
buddy.
Welcome to the show, Brother Ryan. How you feeling, my man?
Excellent. I think my shoulder's out of the socket, but other than that,
You kind of look like Jack Osborne a little bit.
I don't know who that is.
Like Jack Osborne, Ozzy's kid.
Oh, okay. Yeah, a little chubby.
See, you Andrew for 30 seconds. You already want to fight him. See, that's that.
Yeah.
Kevin, you've done your job, bro. That's right.
Yes.
Hey,
really?
together. Way to go, Drew.
He's unbelievably strong. He's like you, Andrew. He's just strong naturally. I mean, we've been training probably 2 years together. He comes over and drags me into the weight room at the house, and he can step away from the weights like you can, Andrew, and for 2 months, and then he's back up to like 90% of what he can do in his first workout.
Now I get to meet the reason why he can't walk half the time.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Yeah.
And this guy,
You're torturing the old man, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're torturing the old man, aren't you?
Yeah, he's doing well. He did work legs yesterday and did a great job.
Awesome. Hey,
Yeah.
and you also helped us with some technical issues. I want to thank you for that too.
Yeah, he's great on anything. Yeah, he's great mentally in the head. Like maybe me and you are missing a few.
A few. Oh, that was so kind. All of us are missing far more than just a few.
Yeah. So, and now we're going to talk about. We have some things to talk about. We're coming. Kevin and I are coming into World Class Championship Wrestling on January 22nd for their Have a Nice Day event with featuring Mick Foley. Kevin and myself are coming back as the Dungeon of Doom. Myself, Kevin, and we have a new member who's Kevin. You want to touch base? Mention who our new member is. It's already advertised. Okay,
you talk to him because you know more about him, Andrew.
Ivan Warsaw came into fruition with a big feud with Enzo in SWE Fury, and he really proved to everybody that he was really. I don't know what happened over there. Just for a second, I'm out of it for a second. Hold on.
You're out of it for a second. I don't know if that's an accurate statement, but all right, continue.
Craig
Warsaw has come into fruition. He proved how he was able to work when he was in the ring with Enzo at some SWE Fury shows. Really phenomenal athlete, unbelievable character, and he's very dark and brooding. And Kevin and I both figured that he would be perfect for our Dungeon of Doom as a new member, and we should be tearing it up all over Texas and hopefully States together pretty soon. But January 22nd, he makes his debut in World Class Championship Wrestling, World Class Wrestling Revolution, and we have a bunch of great stars there. Jacob Fatu has a rematch with Ryan Moonshine Mantell. Jenny Santana is there again. Trying to think who else.
The real world champion, Charlie Haas.
Champion, who we consider, Kevin and I both consider him to be the real world heavyweight champion.
Right.
So, and because I mean, the guy's a shooter. The guy's amazing, and he's just phenomenal. And
Andrew,
you know,
I got to cut you off for a second. I think Craig is calling you. Did you respond to him?
yes, I will.
Okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead, dude. Just go on without me.
Okay. So, can you hear me, my man?
I can, brother. So I get while Drew is off in the netherworld, why don't you you tell everybody out there how the unfortunate day is that you wound up teaming up with Drew and how you two guys know each other.
I've known Drew when Drew was a young boy. You know about him bench pressing all that weight at the Meadowlands. What was it? 2 1/4, 72 times for our charity. I was interested in bringing Drew in. He came into WCW for all the TVs, and unfortunate that I think he would have had a great position there, but WCW went under. And Drew is, when he puts his mind to it, he can do about anything. You know, the old story, you can't judge a book by its cover. Andrew has 2 degrees. He's a historian. He reads. He's a clever guy. And the unfortunate thing is, like I said before, he was caught between 2 generations. If he had come 10 years earlier, he would have fit in perfectly with the big bodies and the hard hitting that wrestling was and is coming back to. He would have fit in perfectly, but it's great to be around Drew. You know him, got great personality, makes you laugh all the time, and he's a special person.
Truly is. So,
Yeah.
so Drew, we were talking about how you and Kevin know each other, and what he was saying, I don't even think you PayPal'd him any money, but everything that he said about you was actually very, very nice. So before you comment.
I got a contact from the next episode's guest, so just now as it was going, because we're filming the double shot. But yeah, Kevin and I know each other for almost 30 years, and 26 years I know Kevin, 26 years actually. And he remembers when I was carrying Jimmy Snuka's bag when Metal Maniac and Jimmy discovered me, and you know, I tried to get a job working up, you know, for WCW. I went to the power plant for a little bit, tried to get on, and my friend Chris Ford, Crowbar, was already on TV, and I was really trying to get on, and you know, I was one of those guys that was, you know, really trying to do his part, but you know, things happen. I was in the wrong place, the wrong time, you know. So, but it was a great experience, and I wouldn't change a damn thing, no regrets, you know what I'm saying? And you know, it's shit happens for a reason, you know. And look, I'm here, we're having fun, and Kevin and I did some international tours together. We got another one coming up in the UK on February 17th for World Pro Wrestling, and Matt Jarrett's company, World Pro Wrestling, and got some great talent over there. Too Cold Scorpio against Tajiri, and we have other talent on it like Hernandez, and God, that it just goes on. And I got a match there myself, and I can't wait to get on that show and be in the UK again. I haven't been in the UK in almost 15 years, and this is looking forward to going back to the land of the Queen. You know, go save the Queen. So, and you know, another thing I wanted to also talk about, something that I didn't really get a chance to touch base on, that Kevin and I are also involved in. I'm bringing Kevin to get stem cells in February, injections into his. Kevin, you're getting him where? In your knee, his shoulder, your neck?
Mine, shoulders and neck, yeah.
Yeah, so Kevin's going to get them in his shoulders and neck, and hoping that it would help regenerate some of the tissue that was torn up and the damage, reverse some of the damage that was done. We just had Gangrel there for Prodigy stem cells, and Jenny Santana was there in November, and myself, I shoulder has almost full range of motion again. You know, I'm not going to be military pressing, you know, 225 pounds anymore, or dumbbells, 150-pound dumbbells, but I'm just happy to be pain-free and, you know, being able to do what I got to do. And Gangrel just did his back and his knees, you know, so, you know, hopefully we'll be able to help Kev out, right, Kev? And you know, AJ Caprio and Dr. Angelo Caprio at Integrated Pain Management, I'm giving them a plug, because they are some of the guys that help keep me around and keep me driving everybody crazy in the wrestling business and in the media and acting business, driving everybody nuts as only I can do. So,
we'll just smile and wave. Yes, we love you.
Yes, smile and wave.
We love you.
So, anyway, so what else is going on as far as your world, Matty? What's going on with you?
Well, obviously, since we've had this little thing going called COVID going on, it's been a strange world. So for much like you guys, for people that are usually on the road 100, 120 days plus a year to kind of have our wings clipped a little bit, things have been interesting. As a promotions guy, there's not a lot of big events or things to promote when it's highly frowned upon. So, much like you guys, we're doing stuff like we're doing today. I think the whole evolution of what we're doing today actually started with COVID. As you know, I have my bourbon blog show, which is up to its 100th episode now, and it's spawned from the inability to be with people in person. So the second best thing is to be doing it digitally the way we're doing today. And like I said,
now you're co-hosting with the Reinforcer and Kevin Sullivan, the Taskmaster, in the Dungeon. Who would have thought?
Exactly.
And tomorrow evening, you and I have a date with Sanj Patel in Sanj's Smoke Shop, unveiling his newest stick.
Yep. As a matter of fact, see that behind my head, kids? That's the new logo there. Yep. for SP 1014s, baby. Sanj Patel, if you're Jersey folk, so that's tomorrow. That'll be Friday the 7th at 4 p.m. to whenever. So
yeah, and Matty, I will be there if you want to come in, stop in, and say hello. Right?
Yes, sir.
Matty, I got a question for you. You've got 100 episodes you've done, right? And I agree with you. It's a whole new ball game. Do you foresee this going on for a while, this COVID?
Yes, and I try to always keep politics out of everything I do, but it's kind of like reading 1984. So what we have is, look, is it real? Of course it's real. Have people gotten sick and died? Absolutely. It's very real. But what's happening now is we're kind of creating a culture of fear. And that culture of fear is overtaken common sense and sensibilities. At the end of the day, common sense will always, or should always, dictate, what the smart thing is to do or not the smart thing. So while people are killing each other and cursing each other out for, hey, you're vaxxed, you're unvaxxed, and we've been friends for 40 years, but screw you. I don't hear anybody yelling what vaxxed or unvaxxed when someone goes to a store and I could literally see them hacking their lung out. I'm like, I don't know if you're vaxxed or unvaxxed, but you literally just hacked a piece of lung further than Andrew Anderson can throw a human across a ring. And I'm like, I'm not sure how I feel about that. And again, that's a sense and sensibility thing. Do this, do that. Well, where's your accountability for doing some of the crazy shit? If you don't feel good, keep your ass at home.
Well, that's the problem. It's common sense seems to have there's a lack of common sense now. It seems to have lost its
Andrew, I got to interrupt you. Craig is looking for the passcode.
Okay, this part got to part out, the common sense part. Hold on, let me get him the pass, send it to him again. Okay. All right, we got to edit this part out. Hold on. Let me just get.
Come on, Matty.
Yes, sir.
Matty, Ryan wants to tell a story. Come on.
Absolutely, brother.
Hey guys, I totally feel what you're saying, and this is about today. My wife and I are putting our house on the market coming up in the next few months, and our realtor made their first visit to our house today. And with respect to him, I followed his rules, but in my own house, I had to mask up and walk around my own house, breathing the same oxygen I've been breathing in and out for all week. But the lack of common sense there, just, I don't know, I feel you. It's astounding. So that's it. That's how I wanted to say.
No, but it's the truth, man. Like I said, common sense is in the toilet. And fear, like I said.
Tired of that same old breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Same old tasting scrambled eggs, burger, that dinner steak, ribs, or pork chops. Why not add a little bit of spice or just a touch of heat to make the difference? Change that scrambled egg with a little bit of Johnny Fabulous's John Cena Sr.'s $1 Million Jalapeno Hot Sauce. Great on burgers, steaks, chops, and those barbecued ribs.
M&J Video Games and Collectibles. Sport and non-sport cards, wrestling items, autographed items. We buy, sell, and trade. M&J Video Games and Collectibles, located at 1049 Queen Street, Southington, Connecticut. Call us at 1-860-479-9223 or 860-93-GAMES. M&J Video Games and Collectibles.
Getting back to what we said, you got 100 blogs out there. Do you think 5 years ago you would ever thought about podcasting?
No, I always knew where it had its importance and how to reach people, and like I said, there's a platform for it. But after what happened and literally not being around to have contact with other people and this filling in for it, there's no world where I ever thought that this would happen. And again, it's something we very much took for granted because the last time this happened was 100 years ago during the Spanish flu. So nobody thought about this. This was everybody's worst nightmare. And part of the human condition is all of us want to be togetherness. Humans are social beings, right? So we had to go for the next best thing. And this is what we got.
I got to inject something, Matty. I'm a huge baseball fan, okay, especially the Red Sox.
Yeah, I didn't want to say anything. I'm a Yankee. So you
got the international choke sign, right? Then why? Three games up and you bring a Hall of Famer, the only guy elected unanimously. But you got thank goodness, because Big Papi's going to get in because of what he did for the Red Sox, 3 championships.
I got 27 rings to help the boys shine. Right, kids.
But what I was going to say was, I saw a thing that I couldn't believe. It was a picture of a 1918 game where the catcher, the batter, and the umpire had a mask on. So mascot knew, you know what I mean? But I hope that we get back to this normalcy. I mean, that's what I've said on that product. So,
yeah, and like I said, it's going to be common sense. And like I said, each generation is different. Luckily, this isn't World War II where you go like this. I have a sniffle. I'm out. I'm like, dude, it's a sniffle. Nope, I'm done. I got a sniffle.
Right now, with this new Omicron variant, I think a lot of people are looking for a reason to stay home and looking for a reason to waiting online where they weren't with the initial thing, waiting online to get COVID tests, and people are just lines going around the block. There's a lack of surplus in COVID take-home tests, and everyone from physicians to those little.
Andrew, I'm going to interrupt you. You know what I find strange? You're talking about the COVID lines, right? Ryan lives up the street from me, right here on Columbia Beach Drive. We don't have any lines. You can walk into the Family Island Drug and get any kind of shot you want. It seems to me, well, we got very few people on this end of the island at this time of year, where our population probably triples in the summertime.
Mm-hmm.
But I find it strange, but that these people have as much as they need, but Seattle, major cities don't. LA, you know, what I mean? It's crazy.
It's crazy. Smaller suburbs, the lines going around. Every city MD, every little mom and pop vaccination center that they have, they're all lined up for COVID testing. Not for the shot, not for the vaccines, to get COVID tested. And most of the people who are getting sick are the ones that haven't been vaccinated.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there wasn't a big rush, a run on the bank to get a COVID vaccine, but you want to get COVID tested. You want to know if you have it or not, but you don't want to know if you're immune to it or not. But getting a vaccine, I mean, I'm not saying it gives you immunity, but at least it gives you a chance. It's a chance at survival. So
getting back to what a man said there, Matty was right on that. I think he knew the importance of podcasting, but I don't think, Matty, correct me if I'm wrong. Did you think there'd be this slew of podcastings right away? It seems like I go to YouTube and every day there's 2 or 3 other podcasting on, clips.
I would never imagine it.
Obi, how we put this louder?
Oh, there he is.
What's up there, Craig?
What's going on, fellas? I'm sorry I'm a little bit late.
All
That's
good,
okay,
brother.
Craigie.
All right, we gotta close off this episode. Then we're gonna add Craig in on the next one. So just stay with us, Craig. Don't go anywhere. All right.
Okay.
We're gonna end this episode real quick, and then when you're on the next one, I'll announce you on the next episode. Okay.
Yeah, I'm
give me
good.
3 minutes. All right.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, Matt. Go ahead.
All right. So yeah, Kev, honestly, for me, I never thought we'd ever see anything like this. I think by the time everybody was 2 or 3 months into this and saw the seriousness of it, and everywhere was a ghost town, the fear of not being around other people really kicked in. The normalcy was gone. All this really simple things that everybody took for granted. And let's be honest, people gathering is something you would never think twice about. I'd say in a million years, except it was in 100 years for now. So the only way that you could be together and express your thoughts and have a show and have everyone together is things like this. You have a Zoom show or you're on a WebEx. I mean, look at, Zoom stock went through the window. And like I said, you had GoToMeeting and WebEx and Microsoft Teams. And not only on this level, but, your corporate world is big on Teams and everything else. So now what's going to be interesting is obviously there's no real timeline as to when this, madness is going to end, but it'll be interesting to see how business is conducted in the future.
A lot of business
of big offices are gonna do this.
A lot of businesses are being conducted from home. I mean, my brother-in-law has been working from home, and he works for a bank. Yeah, he's been working from home for about 2 years already. So I mean, it's going
to have an effect on everything, man. It's going to have an effect on commercial properties. People are going to decide, do I really need to spend X amount of dollars, millions of dollars a year on these giant corporate
offices, and they're downsizing. They're finding it's more efficient to have the employees work from home as opposed to being in a corporate office paying these massive taxes and rents and
Well,
all
they're
the
going to
bills.
have to pay taxes anyway.
Well, yeah.
But here's the thing. I do not think, and I may be wrong, I don't think that we'll ever get back to what we perceived as normal. And I think that we'll see more podcasting, and this will like everything else, everything evolves. This will hybrid into something else too.
I agree entirely.
But listen, meantime, I think that everybody out there should tune in to In Dungeon with Andrew Anderson and Kevin Sullivan, our guest host, our co-host, Matty Rock, every Saturday, 9 p.m. here on the Monty and the Pharaoh YouTube channel. Check us out. We'll have to wrap this episode, but the next episode is coming up, and we're going to have pro wrestling collecting guru, Mr. Craig Massey from Louisiana. You probably saw him on A&E's wrestling art. I got to edit this part out. Let him edit
Andrew,
this
that's
part.
enough. Just end it with Craig, and then we'll bring that up.
What Andrew meant to say is, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to the first episode of In the Dungeon. Much love. We'll see you in the same bad time, same bad place next week. Peace out.